I just realized my father is an entitled Kevin. This just came as some messed up revelation. Here it goes. A couple weeks ago, I took my sister's car to a workshop for maintenance early morning. After getting a call from the workshop that the car was ready, I tried to get the car back myself until, here comes entitled Pops. Again, I was meant to pick up the car by myself until he butted in. We went back to the workshop together. I was given the car back, paid for the maintenance, and that was just about it. It took a few minutes to get my sister's car, until I needed to take the car for a regulatory checkup. Cue the following scene. As soon as I was getting details on what was needed to double check with the car, father comes in, and then begins yelling at the one who gave my car back. Yes, employees mess up every now and then, yet this doesn't justify my father behaving like some entitled moron, calling names on the personnel of that workshop. I couldn't help facepalming myself, as this is not the first time he behaves like this. Okay, I've let crap slip, because I was running short on time for the regulatory checkup, which would take me an hour or so to drive to their offices. I continued driving while playing music in a pointless attempt to forget that cringy moment. But then, my father went on another of his tirades about how people are idiotic punks who ain't worth a freak, all for the hour the entire trip lasted. Then, I made it to the Environment Department offices, where the car would be checked. It took an hour or so until the results of the car were fetched. Fair enough, the car passed and it can still run without us getting fined for the time being. After the results were good, it was time to beat it to my sister's place to return the car. I thought this would be a relaxing return home trip. Big mistake. Pops went on another rant. This time, the topic of his rant was my older sister, owner of this car, and that she is a sloppy retard. Remember mention that people mess up every now and then? This was pretty much the same thing. I was already fed up with his entitled tirades. The straw that broke the camel's back was when, after talking crap about my sister, he threw some nasty remarks about me and a friend I would play music with every now and then, saying that I was going nowhere with friends like that. As a response to his tirades, I instinctively yelled something in the lines of "Yep, no, everybody freaking sucks. Now shut the frick up." The rest of the trip was absolutely tense, with my father staring daggers at me for yelling at him to shut up. Almost on the way to my sister's place, he only asks me to drop him off by a supermarket, which I did, before I would finally hand over the car. I've been thoughtful about previous times he has behaved like an entitled moron, and making us cringe at his attitude. Sour teacher coming at an 8-year-old kid. So, there's this mom that recently moved to our school. She's a single mom who got out of a bad relationship, and she's learning how to live on her own, new language, etc. Her self-esteem is clearly not very good as she is often fearful to take action, and I don't know how to help her. Our kids are in the same class, and her kid is wicked smart. He attended a private school in Mexico, and he is clearly advanced. The teacher from the beginning took a negative attitude towards the kid, because she thought he didn't want to pay attention. My son finally told me one day that the teacher is really mean to the new kid. So I tried to talk with the mom to check on her. She told me that her kid gets bored, and that if I could help her talk to the teacher so she could explain that he already knows the content, and to ask for extra activities to keep him occupied. The teacher's response clearly shocked me. She told us that she couldn't give him any extra work, and that if he had already gained knowledge of the material at his previous school, there was nothing wrong with reviewing it again. Weeks go by, and my kid came with more news. The teacher told the class that it was not possible that the new kid was doing better in every subject, with him being from Mexico, than them. I reached out to the mom once again, and recommended that she confront the teacher. After they talked, it finally seemed she left the kid alone for a while. Fast forward to last week, my husband picked up our son, and the teacher told my husband, in front of my kid, that the new kid was a bad influence, and my son shouldn't be friends with him. I called the mom, and we arranged a meeting with the principal to discuss everything that's been happening. She called the kid over, and my heart just broke when the kid with tears in his eyes told the principal that his teacher didn't like him, and always blamed him for everything all the time. We also found out that the mom wasn't notified about the kid taking an advanced test of some sorts that was an all-day-long thing, because he's super smart, and that the teacher has been claiming she's the reason he's been doing so well, and she got a bonus because of his scores. The principal seemed very understanding and apologetic about the whole situation, and asked for a 2-week window to do something about it. Rude woman meets instant karma. This is a short story my dad shared with my family a few days ago, and the ending was too glorious to keep to myself. My dad was at a grocery store gas pump during a pretty busy part of the day. According to my dad, he spent maybe 15 minutes just to get to a pump, because some jerk would constantly jump in front of him, rather rudely, and occupy the spot instead. However, While most of these drivers just cut in front, the final encounter my dad had, some Karen driving a large fancy car, made the insane decision to not only cut my dad off with enough speed and hostility to cause an accident, but to also look my dad directly in the eyes and laugh at him as she did. Apparently, this Karen forgot the most important rule of driving: keep your eyes on the road. Why, you ask? Because as this woman cut my dad off, laughing right in his face, her very nice car proceeded to ram, at full speed, directly at the gas pump she was trying to steal. Bam! Instant karma. Unfortunately, my dad never found out what happened after, since he got the heck out of there fearing that pump would blow if he didn't. And while our smallish town didn't hear a loud explosion that day, it was probably safe to assume that woman definitely felt something. Folks, moments like these are what keep me smiling. Sometimes, you just want to see petty people get smacked in the face by karma's oh so loving embrace. Feels so good. Also, in case anyone asks, I think that woman is fine. There hasn't been any news report or anything about it, so if anything, she probably just had to worry about the damage to her car and the pump. But if something does come up, I'll probably post an update if people are interested. Either way, I find the best justice to be watching petty people learning harsh lessons as a result of their petty actions. There's nothing better, honestly. I'm the customer, so you have to date me. So this is another story from the world of customer service and Burger King. So our characters are myself, my coworker who I will call Barbie, and the villain of this piece, Jack A. Now let me start by saying I'm fine with people who can't break the script on customer service on either side, and I'm all for looking for love wherever you want, but know that when she says no, she means it. Also, this guy was so creepy he'd give online incels a run for their money. So I was in charge of babysitting the newbies for the day, as we just had a fresh crop of them whisk in. The rate of retention was low, and I was perhaps the one guy who worked on all areas at some point, so had to train everyone. One newbie was Barbie. She was 16, and as much of a Barbie girl as you can get, complete with the shiny blonde hair and bubbly personality. She was on the till to my right, and in comes J.A. So she is busy taking his order when all of a sudden he decides to ask her for her number. Now I'm sure that she's used to it, as she brushed it off and just said, "Sorry, I'm seeing someone." "So would you like your meal large?" "Nah, I give large, I don't buy it," J.A. said, as if he could impress her with his vulgarity. "Okay, so any sides?" she asked. She wasn't going to break from the script purely out of discomfort, I think. At this point I was finished with my customer and turned my attention on this guy. "Depends, can I have you as my side?" "I'd love to make a meal out of you," J.A. told her. The sheer cringe was uncomfortable for all of us except him. "You need me to step in?" I asked her. "I'm okay, but can you stay near?" she asked. "No worries," I told her. "Is this your boyfriend?" J.A. asked her. "No, but you're making me feel uncomfortable. You're like 10 years older than me, and you're creeping on me," she told him. I think that she was hoping he would just realize what he was doing and give up. No such luck. "Honey, I'm your customer. This is part of customer service. So just give me your number and my order, and I'll come by later to pick you up," he replied. The sheer entitled attitude towards her was starting to annoy me and her. "Sir, I'm just going to be blunt with you. I'm not going to allow her to deal with you any further. You're going to either finish your order with me and it'll be a takeaway, or you can leave now," I said. Barbie quickly took a step back from the till and let me take her place. "Hey, that's not cool. We are both guys here. No blocking me, man," J.A. exclaimed. He was actually angry because I wouldn't let him hit on her. I told Barbie to go into the kitchen and grab a drink of water or something while I dealt with him. "I honestly don't care if you think because we're both guys you're entitled to make my front counter team uncomfortable. You have a right to order food from here for now. If you continue with this behavior, I'll simply have you leave," I told him, hoping that my stern voice was enough to get him to focus. It was not. So this guy continues with his order for a moment before redirecting his attention to Barbie, who had just popped her head out of the kitchen to see if she was in the clear, and he clicked on immediately when he noticed her. "Why can't you just take my order and give me your number? All I want to do is give you some," he shouted at her. She immediately fled as the manager on shift came out of the dry store after hearing the commotion. I immediately signaled them to call the security staff for the shopping center before turning back to the customer. "Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave now, as I don't feel comfortable with you even being in the same place as my colleague. Now please leave. I'm going to cancel off everything for your order, and you won't be served any further by any colleague here," I informed him. "I'm not leaving until I get her number." "Do you even know who I am?" he said, as if knowing who he was would change my opinion on him. "No, but you're not harassing my colleague for her number, so you can act like a big man. You look closer to my age than hers, and so you should know that acting like this is inappropriate. I have no problems with a guy asking a girl for her number, but when she says no, it means no," I explained to him. "Since when? When a whore says no, you simply pay her more money. It's the same here. When she says no, you keep asking until she says yes, he replied, as if this means he's in the right all of a sudden. A moment later, security just walked in. The manager walked out to point out the customer, who was still irate because he couldn't get a girl's number. I'd already canceled his order on the tills, but he was still refusing to leave until he got her number. Security just walked behind him and tapped him on the shoulder. "Sir, you'll have to come with us," the security guard said. "But she hasn't given me her number yet," he told them. "And she won't." "Now please leave," I told him. With this, he finally admitted defeat and skulked away. I don't know what made him think that he was entitled to her, but I'm just glad that she was protected properly. You can ask a girl out, but you can't harass her if she says no. When Barbie left that day, she was driven home by one of the female members of staff who finished at the same time. She actually came back as well, and I made sure that she was okay to keep working on the tills before I put her back on them that day. I might call her Barbie, but she was a boss Barbie if anything. Good on her for not letting him shake her. I am a single bachelor myself, and I understand that flirting is okay so long as you don't act like an entitled jackbutt and mistreat someone who isn't interested. Also, as a rule of thumb, when you're 25 plus, don't even bother hitting on a girl who's 16 and actually looked younger due to her baby face. That's just creepy. My rule of thumb with age range is normally 6 years younger to 6 years higher. If you have a different one, that's fine, but don't be that creepy. I don't know what people's opinions are on sexual harassment on here, but I hope that you all appreciate that you should never act like this to anyone ever. No one is entitled to date anyone. It's a privilege to have a partner in love and life, no matter how long it lasts. Entitled military recruiter tried to insult me for not wanting to join the Marines when I was 18. I'll start off with some background. I attended a public high school in the US, for context, for less than a school year to finish my basic education. Before that, I was homeschooled and living in a car, basically on the beach with my mom. I was put in foster care for a lot of reasons, so it was a lot change for me at the time. The last time I was in an actual school setting I was 12 years old, so it was all very, very new. So, I had never been approached by a military recruiter before, or dealt with them. So Sergeant Nincompoop, that's what I'll call him, came to my English class to try to brainwash the kiddos and make them think that the US military is fantastic. You get to travel the world. You get financial independence and tons of benefits. He was spewing this bull crap that I wasn't really listening to, but that I found fascinating because I had never witnessed such a spectacle. Sometime, during his spiel, we had to fill out a form. I remember answering honestly. I believe I had said I don't have any interest in joining any faction of the military, but I did leave my real number when they asked for it, thinking that it would had never been actually called. I don't recall detailing my life plans or anything on the form. I don't exactly recall leaving my number, but since he called my number afterwards, I'm guessing I did put it on the form. I was respectful during the lecture, but never had expressed any interest in joining the military because I don't agree with a lot of what the US military did do and does abroad. I got a call from Nincompoop after I graduated, and I told him that I wasn't interested in joining the military, believing that he wouldn't call me again. He had said something about keeping my options open to the military, but I thought that was the last of it. I didn't think to block the number because I didn't think it would become an issue. One day, about a week later or so, my boyfriend and I just having a nice day out at our local Chinatown, looking at earthenware jars of bean paste and wondering how a shop that smells of mothballs and exclusively sells 1980s baby clothes in mint condition, yet has one inside stays open in this day and age. I get a call. I had no idea who it was from. Sergeant Nincompoop was not in my contacts, haha. So out of not knowing, I picked it up. He's drilling me about what I'm doing after high school, and I tell him I'm looking for a non-military job to help me get on my feet. At the time I had just moved in with my boyfriend. So, Nincompoop asks what that would be. I tell him, I don't know, maybe Starbucks or anything. At the time I was just trying to get any job, just as most teenagers would who have no work experience. Nincompoop then goes on in a level rant that starts with asking me if I really want to waste my entire life working at Starbucks. And I said, I don't know, probably not. Of course the answer is no, but what do you expect an 18-year-old girl to say to a 30-year-old man yelling at her over the phone? Yes, a first job is a logical lifelong career choice unless you join the military. So, he's then aggressively asking where Ellie'll be in 5 years, and I tell him, I don't really know for sure. He's getting all antsy because I'm not telling him my life plans, and he's explaining how the military can essentially set a plan for my life. This goes on and on. My boyfriend is there the whole time, and was as entertained as I was. I told him I have no interest in joining the military, repeatedly, that I'm not interested in the fact that they can pay for college, and I'm not joining the military no matter what. So, this man tells me how I'm wasting my life for not joining the military at 18, and how that I'm setting myself for failure, and working at Starbucks for my entire life, and then angrily hangs up the phone not without his last quip stating that I'm wasting my opportunity. My boyfriend and I laughed about it afterwards, called him a loser, and we talked about how much of a deranged douche he was on the phone whilst eating Chinese candy. A funny and light story, but thought I'd share regardless. Also, military recruiters are something else. They've also literally tried to recruit me whilst I'm at work before, but no one has been as rude or as belligerent as that one guy from when I was 18. Man offended I didn't move for him. This is a very short story but was recently reminded of it. It's a small interaction but shows so much about what goes through people's heads. A few years ago, I was in a really bad mood. I don't remember what it was about, but I was steaming. It's weird that I don't remember, as I don't think I'd ever been so angry. Anyway, I was walking to choir practice at uni, stomping as I went when this happened. I'm not a very assertive person. I hate this, and I'm trying to change it. But in any confrontation, I have to fight a strong urge to immediately back down. When passing people in the street, I almost always move. So when I was stomping along in rage, and saw a man approaching walking the other way, I thought to myself, no, not this time. I'm sick of always moving. So I stood firm and kept walking on the side I was on. Unfortunately, this man was apparently under the impression that since I was a small woman, I should move for his excellency. My persistence pissed him right off. As we were about to collide, he moved and, to cope with the fact that I had won, he spat at me as he passed. What was it about me that made him think I had to move? It's been years and I'm still angry about it.